I'd like to welcome everybody to the board meeting this evening. And just so you know that there is not a live feed this evening due to technical issues, so Brenda will upload this to YouTube on Friday. So just so everybody is aware of that issue, so that way they're not looking for it. So, okay, very good. So next I need to approve the agenda. I salute. Motion by Gina, second by TJ to adopt the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, delegation, there are none, so we will move on. Next we have the consent agenda that will include the approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 10th, the special meeting of May 21st, approve the payment of bills, approve the treasury report, approve the clerk's report, and accept a restitution check number 9929 in the amount of $201 from the district court. The rec has not met, so there are no minutes for that meeting. Do I have a motion? I'll move. Deb? Second?
I'll second.
Gina? Motion by Deb, second by Gina to approve to approve the items listed on the consent agenda consisting of approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 10th, 2021, the special board meeting of May 21st, 2021, approve the payment of bills, approve the treasury report, approve the clerk's report, and accept restitution check number 9929 in the amount of $201 from the district court of Lincoln County. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, moving on. We have Gage Mortimer with the Davidson Agency.
Yeah, we can just introduce Gage. I've been working a lot on insurance and getting ready for what we're going to do for next year with insurance. I've had several meetings with Gage, and I invited him to come and just address the board tonight.
Yeah, so I'm Gage Mortimer. I'm with the Davidson Agency. I've seen most of you guys around town. I personally talked to a lot of you guys, but we're with the Davidson Agency. I'm just right down the block from you guys. Last month there was a proposal letter sent to you guys about changing your current insurance over to our agency. And I'll kind of read over that proposal, then try to answer some of your guys' questions so that everybody can get those under your belt. And then at the end, I'll just be open for some questions and everything. I'll read the proposal just the very end, just so I don't mess it up and miss anything from what you guys had. The proposal said the Davidson Agency of Lincoln asks you to consider us to be your local agency representative with EMC. We have the knowledge, staffing, and relationship with EMC to be your agent. We would simply need an agent of record change signed. An AOR simply means the Davidson Agency would assume the responsibility for your policy and it will transfer as is. We will then have the ability to make changes, corrections, re-rate, and review coverages. So I'll just answer some of the questions I've heard already, just so we can get those out of the way. Why the Davidson Agency? But first I want to say that we, the Davidson Agency, have a direct relationship with EMC. I can pick up the phone, call Wichita, and talk to Amy Soursby. She is our commercial underwriter, so I have just a direct relationship. I don't have to call Kansas City or Chicago, talk to somebody there to try to get them to talk to EMC. We have a direct relationship with them. So that kind of says a little bit about the Davidson Agency. We're open to the community, so we are a small agency that's open to your guys' community. But we have the power to be big. We have big agency benefits. So that kind of helps out with us being local. It takes 42 steps to walk from my office door to your guys' office door. I counted them as I walked here today as our air conditioner is out. So in the event of that, your air conditioner is out, a claim happens, Scott calls me, says, hey, our air conditioner is out, we need to file a claim. I walk that 42 steps, me and Scott go and look at it, or say something catches on fire, we go take pictures at it. I'm there to help you guys service your policy. You don't have to call somebody an hour, 2 hours away, and then maybe they can work it into their schedule today. With me being just right down the road, I can most likely get here within a minute or two. So again, with that being local, we're here to help you guys. We've helped our other communities. We have other USD districts that we insure already. We've helped them. We helped the community. We're here to stay. There's a lot of things we've helped with other USDs, some scoreboards, some grants, and other generous donations. You can probably drive around to the other school districts we have, and you'll see our name somewhere, because we're just here to help you guys. My boss likes to use the phrase, using your tax dollars locally. You guys would be using your guys' tax dollars locally, and then we would be using our tax dollars locally to help out the committee, or help you guys out, help the district and everybody. EMC premium. So EMC has to file their rates to the state. The state approves those, they come back to EMC, and then it goes directly to you guys. What we are just your servicers. So you guys, like I said on the claim, you guys call us, and we help you. We're kind of the in-between guy. We don't add, if we wanted to add $20,000 on top of things, we can't do that. You guys get your rates directly from EMC. They just come right over to you guys. And that's kind of where that as-is falls into place. So what you guys have right now with your current agency would transfer as is over to us. We cannot increase that premium by saying we just want an extra $20,000 on top. We can't do that. So it would transfer as is. The premium that they've quoted you will just move over to us, and then we would help service it and take care of you guys' problems. I know there's some premium that needs to be looked at, and a lot of other things that need to be looked at pretty closely to try to help you guys, help the board out and help the district out. And to answer a question, why can't we give you guys a quote? We can't give you a quote because there are pretty much two companies that give insurance to school districts right now. It's the pool and then EMC. You guys are already with EMC, so we can't call EMC and try to get that quote. If I call them and say, hey, I need to know information about the district, they won't give it to me. We can't even quote it, just because one, you guys are with them. If we try to quote it, it'd be the exact same thing. But then falls into place of what you guys cover. There's certain buildings, I'd say, that are probably excessively covered. Just by looking at some of the older policies you guys have had, I would say that maybe if a building fell down or collapsed tomorrow, you guys probably won't be building that exact building for how much you guys have insured for. You go build a wood framed structure, put some rooms in it, and call it good, air conditioner. It'd fit your guys' needs. It's more economically for you guys is what I'd be trying to say. Since you guys have, EMC gives you your guys' premium, then we'd be looking at your policy. So your policy shows all your coverages, your building limits and all that stuff. You guys can insure what you guys choose to, so if you guys don't choose to insure a building, that's completely up to you guys. We are basically here to help you guys determine where and what we can cut to try to minimize that premium for you guys. We're just going to try to be there to help you. So there's things like co-insurance on buildings. You guys are currently at like 100%. We might be able to look at doing 90% on those building limits. Like I said, the building limits, some of them have excess coverage on them that I don't think need to be up there, but that in the end is completely up to you guys, what you want to do. Those are kind of the major questions I've heard. If you guys have more questions, feel free to ask them. I'll answer them for you.
Comments, questions for Gage?
I'm going to make the comment. When I first first got here last July, Gage came down and introduced himself, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, dude, you know? So we just kind of let it ride, but as I've been here for this year, there have been comments made, even from some board members, that we should keep our business local if possible. So when Gage and I sat down, my concerns were, will the Davidson Agency have to go through a broker to get to EMC that call to Chicago or Atlanta or wherever? And Gage assures me that they have that direct pipeline. So I just wanted him to have an opportunity to present the agency to you. If you consider local as a priority, I just wanted you to be aware of the options.
So just it transfers, I think you said that, it's like it just transfers over if we would go that way.
Yep, so if the
Same coverage, same price for now.
Yep, so we call it an AR, it's an agent of record change. It'd basically be like me insuring that table right there. That table's not going to change unless we cut a leg off of it. But the AOR would basically be me signing a piece of paper saying, Scott, this is your table now. Now you're able to do what you want. Before I can only say, yeah, we can cut that leg off. Once I sign it over to Scott, he can cut that leg off, and that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, that policy just transfers as is. We can't increase your guys' premium. From what they gave you, we cannot increase that premium. We can obviously decrease it by looking at some coverages and stuff like that and deductibles. We can decrease it that way, but we can't increase that thing. So yeah, yes.
Just wanted to make sure that I was understanding.
Yep.
everything, so that-
As is, so it just kind of transfers over. And I will say, I forgot to say, an AOR, we have to have it in 10 days in advance of when your guys' renewal is. The reason for the 10 days is so that they can contact your current agency and they have the option to rescind a letter, basically come to you guys, ask for them to still be their agency, and then if you guys sign that one, ours would be revoked. So that's what the 10 days is for.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you guys. Am I good to go, or are you going to stick around?
Good to go.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. All right, so moving on. Insurance review?
Okay, I would ask you to go to addendum 1. All of us at the board office have put a lot of effort into this. Insurance is a huge expense for us. We have reached out to the risk management pool, KSB, it's called Kermit. They spent hours getting documents together for them so they could evaluate. We also have had a meeting with Insurance Planning, who's our current EMC service organization, if you will. Our insurance is going to go up another $13,600 if you look in the middle of that spreadsheet. Last year it went up $18,160. This year it will go up $13,692, and that is the quote that we got from EMC. So if you look at that 3-year history I put there, in 1920 our insurance premium was $57,556. In 2021, $75,752. And for next year, they're quoting us at $89,444. I told the agent that came to present, we can't sustain this year after year after year. We have some dings against us. We have some claims against us. And in reality, you know, Kermit is a pool, their quote was significantly higher than EMC. And we were cautioned by the agent that came to present it. It's, once you get in that pool, it is very difficult to get out of that pool. And I don't think that's a risk. My advice to you is that's a risk we don't want to take. We don't need the Hotel California scenario where once we check in, we can't get out. That could lock us in, and their rates were over $100,000. So the risk associated with a pool, it's my understanding that there was a health pool here years ago, and it took a while to recover from that. I just don't think we're in a position to have that level of risk. What I have done on this spreadsheet is break out up at the top our categories, so you can see the premium increases by category. And our property insurance is 60% of our total premium. So as I was talking with Dale at Insurance Planning, I said, what do we have to do to reduce premium? And he said property is really the main thing that you can look at, and you can calculate about 21 cents per $100 of value. And if you wanted to lower values, you can calculate that 21 cents per 100,000. So what I did down below at the very bottom is a proposed premium savings on property. What this would do is have the district assume more risk. So, that's the flies coming from Gage to me. Anytime we reduce coverage, in order to reduce premium, we're assuming higher risk. However, if we could go by this line by line, just so you understand, the high school storm shelter, that storm shelter had a significant increase in value. And I laughed at that guy and I said, for the love of Pete, it's a storm shelter. It can't be damaged. But it added, what do I say, $1.4 million of value to the property when their appraiser came to look at it. The athletic field, and this is locker rooms and concession stands, a cinder block building on a slab that's already plumbed. It is currently insured for $342,000. If that whole thing blew over, we would have the concrete slab, we would have all the plumbing, sewer, everything plumbed in there. I just threw a number out there for you to consider, $50,000, but the reduction is $613,000. The storage building where the zero-turn mowers are, the two-car garage, is insured for $26,000. I would say don't insure it. The track itself, unusable as it is currently insured at $204,000. I would drop that coverage. What a tornado might improve it.
Ask Gordon to land on it.
The press box and bleachers, $202,000. Greta looked up the records for me. That project cost $64,000. It's insured for $202,000. I just threw a number out for discussion, $100,000. The tractor building that's over by the jump pits, insured for $55,000. It is beat up, old, pieces missing. I put it at 0. If it goes away, we can figure something out to store the tractor in. This district office is insured for $1,035,000. We have 2 limestone walls as our exterior walls. We're insuring this interior and this roof for over $1 million. I recommend or suggest for discussion, a point of discussion, we drop that to $500,000. The preschool building to the west of LES is insured for $186,000. Any modular building that, and I tracked several on Purple Wave to look at potential storage buildings, you can buy those buildings all day long for under $10,000. The transportation is expensive. It might be $30,000, $35,000 to get it here, but $186,000 for a modular building. A discussion starting point is $50,000. The kindergarten building is insured for $353,000. I put another $50,000 as a discussion point. The utilities are already there. If this summer it completely blew away, we would have water, sewer, and ready to put another modular building on there. We have inland marine coverage, which is always confusing, and I still don't know if I'm sure That is like hail damage and stuff like that on our mowers and our tractor. I say drop it all together. So you would think this would be significant and very exciting savings. It really isn't. All of those totals $5,721. That's it. But it reduces our $13,000 increase. We can insure at any amount we want on anything that we have. We just have to come to a point where we feel comfortable with the assumed risk. So that's where we are in insurance. It's not pretty, and the reasons that were given, and I'll just say that with no commentary, the reasons that were given are the February issue, all the damage, because in reality, we're all in one big pool in insurance. Whether you're officially in a pool or whether you're in a health insurance, a Blue Cross, it's a pool, and we share all loss, and premiums reflect all loss, not just ours individually. So, will this continue to go up? It probably will. And we're gonna reach a point where we're gonna have to sit here and say, are we seriously paying $100,000 for insurance coverage? We're gonna get to a point where it's another one of those creeping tides that get to where we can't do everything. So, anyway, for your discussion, I need board direction on what to tell either insurance planning, what coverages we want to have on buildings, or, and we have two possible motions in this particular section. One is to reduce premiums per your direction with insurance planning. The second possible is change our agent of record to the Davidson Agency, and I would work with Gage on this.
Does this include contents?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Good question, I don't see elementary school on there.
It wasn't elementary school.
Just instruction.
I'm wondering if the elementary school is part of the.
Well, and in all reality, if something major happened to the high school, we couldn't, I don't know what you could actually get built for $11 million. The district I came from, it's millions and millions of dollars. So the buildings themselves that we need to function as a school district, those are things that I'm not looking at as reducing coverage on, because the immense amount of contents that just adds up and adds up and adds up.
Dan?
No, I was gonna say elementary school, that's not on there.
Elementary school.
That's the same as the high school.
Wait, like you said, you had no interest in changing the high school or the grade
Right.
school.
I only put the high school there because of
To see the
the
big picture.
increase of that storm shelter value, so you could see what we have it covered at.
And just out of curiosity, since we have the insured amount of $204,000 on the track, what does that cover? Because we used to have standing water under that track that we fixed the drainage on.
You still have standing water under the track.
So what does that track cover?
That would cover a tornado that tore the rubber off to replace it. That's what I'm saying. Currently, the track really doesn't have
We have
value.
insurance on it, but there's nothing, right? Right. It's not gonna cover the damage that's there now.
Again, it is fascinating that you could drop $204,000 worth of coverage and it's $428 a year.
Yeah, that seems.
I'm just going by the numbers that I was told.
If we get a track, something back in place, then we will just.
Then we might insure it at some realistic
Yes.
value.
Even though it doesn't save us a lot of money, it saves us money, so I personally think where you've done the
I think it would be good to have a local agent, to have somebody that you could call or go to that's right down the street, rather than having to go to somebody out of town. I think we're getting covered, you know, I'm happy with EMC, but I would think that having a local agent would benefit us.
Especially when nothing's gonna change.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, we're not gonna change our coverage.
Access.
It's just the person who's gonna be helping the district, the person that we will be contacting would be a local person rather than somebody out of town.
Live person.
Huh?
You get a live person.
Right.
And I know that our agent with insurance planning, how many years has Dale been?
A lot.
He's been here probably
15. He's retiring, so this isn't something that's.
It's not
gonna-
personal, I mean,
it's
but they're
not
not
going
here in
to-
town.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, having somebody local would benefit us.
I thought in the past, we used to have an insurance committee put together that looked at the quotes from insurance companies and look at as far as deductibles and what the coverage, whether we want full replacement, non-replacement, that we used to bid it out.
We did every 3 years on a rotating basis, we did do that, yeah.
But now I hear that we can't get a bid from him because he has to match this, but what happens then after a year or 2 years? Just asking.
Well, here's my understanding of it. The Davidson Agency or insurance planning have absolutely nothing to do with our rates. EMC sets the rates, sends it to the service agency, and the service agency merely provides the insurance service. There aren't enough companies in the state that insure school districts to make a bid process even feasible.
That's what I said, he said there's only 2 companies.
Right, because we did it last time.
And there used to be 4 or 5, but they've all gotten out of it.
So the only difference would be with a local person versus somebody else, but we might still
Yes.
get the same increases every year.
That agent of record is simply to have local business. It does nothing to premium quotes or anything else. It might give us somebody to consult with and say, is this enough? Is this too much? And really dig into it without scheduling meetings with an out-of-town. But that agent of record, just to be very clear, is just the service entity for EMC. Their money gets made by a percentage of EMC's premiums that EMC sets. So and I'll just make up numbers, these are not legit. If they say on property insurance, we allow a commission of 8%, then on our property insurance, any agents of service, whether it's insurance planning, they'll get 8% of that to do the service work on the policy. And it's my understanding there's a different percentage for each category.
I'd be like anything else, if we tried it and we weren't happy with the service, we could find somebody else to go back or. I'm not saying that we're not gonna be happy, but I mean, there's always an option that if it doesn't work out, then,
We can change agent of record annually.
I think now's a perfect time to do it when our old one is retiring. Somebody will do it.
that one. And this is, what's this?
Do you need a motion?
The agent of record needs to be a formal motion. You don't have to act on this spreadsheet. We can wait and work with whoever the agent of record becomes and have a conversation.
If we make him the agent of record, he can plug these numbers in and see if that bottom line comes out the same, right?
He can have EMC do that, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We would take a reduction in coverage and get a new proposal from EMC.
I move we have the Davidson Agency be our agent of record.
Thank you, David.
I'll second.
Deb. Motion by David, seconded by Deb, that USD 298 Board of Education approve transferring all district insurance from Insurance Planning Inc. to the Davidson Agency for the 21-22 school year. Any discussion?
Oh, we want, sorry, just appointing as the agent of record at this time, right?
typically
that
we do
one, so
agent
you're
of
just
record in
in
July, so we need to do agent of record now for next year.
Okay, so are we not doing these two then? Sorry, I'm confused here. Okay. and then Sam.
Yeah, but there's a
Okay, sorry about that, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so, Board of Education approve, how about that, the Davidson Agency as the agent of record for the 21-22 school year. Yes. That work? Okay, is that okay, Mr. Bell? Thank you. All right, any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Yes. Yes, sorry, Deb, yes. Okay. All right. So then we'll go through this one here. All right, thank you. Back on track. All right, next we have approved a donation for FFA.
I didn't want this in the consent agenda because I want you, as a board, to understand how excited and what a surge of support we're getting for FFA and all the hard work that's been done already to get things in place. We could not have an FFA charter without having an ag pathway put into place. That pathway deadline came and went, and our new ag teacher was diligent and got it approved post due date and got a hold of FFA, and we now are an officially recognized chapter for FFA. Just part of the support that came in, an anonymous individual walked in the front door with a checkbook and said, I want to give $1,000 to whatever FFA needs. So even though they wish to remain anonymous, I would just like an opportunity to thank this anonymous individual for generous support of the FFA program. I think it's gaining traction, and I think it's going to be a very exciting next couple of years as it builds. So we do need approval for that particular donation.
I'll move we approve the anonymous $1,000 donation for FFA.
I'll second that.
Sorry, Jim. Motion by Deb, seconded by John, the USD 298 Board of Education accept the anonymous donation of $1,000 to be used for the newly formed Lincoln High School FFA program. Any discussion? I would just like to mimic Mr. Crenshaw. Very appreciative of the donation and support. Good program getting going, so appreciate that. All right, any other discussion, comments? All right, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Next, required speech course.
So with the departure of Mrs. Geisen, we don't have a certified speech teacher now at the high school level. So we have a couple of options here. We don't have anybody else in the building that's certified to teach speech. A couple of options that the administration presented to me for the building was we remove the speech requirement for graduation. It's a half a credit, and we add a half a credit to the electives with the understanding that the ELA department would work to implement components of speech into the ELA curriculum. There's some options here. We can suspend it for 1 year and see if there's any new staff or anybody that's interested in trying to get certified in speech itself, or we can just make it a permanent thing. It's not required for speech or graduation anymore. But that's where we are. We simply don't have a certified teacher that can do speech next year, but it's currently a graduation requirement. So that's kind of a impossibility.
Do you know, like, what is the norm for schools? Do they, most of them have that as a separate specific requirement for graduation, or do most of them have it?
In my experience, a lot of it depends on the size of the school. The leaner you get on staffing, the less outside of core content it becomes more difficult to require non-core content courses.
So when you said options, that's pretty much it?
Well, yes,
Okay.
what I meant was option.
Option. Well, I think the option is to do away with it permanently, or
Or
just to
suspend it for next year. And if any seniors next year don't have the speech, then we try to fill that with a half a credit elective to maintain 25 credits. I guess another option is you decrease to 24.5 credits as a requirement for graduation and take speech off the table as a required course.
It's not something that could be like online or?
It can be, it's $99 per student. Speech online is kind of like fishing online.
Okay, fine.
I was gonna say, we had it over at Cloud County when we were there. It was in the distance learning room. And that was the toughest class to do speech, because you had to do it like in front of a computer and the teacher was on the TV. And I don't know, it was a tough way to do speech.
And I would defer to Mrs. Flynn if you have any input.
The online version, the Ingenuity that he's talking about, that's the $99, they don't actually ever give a speech. So I don't know if they just learn the form of writing a speech, the parts of speech, but no actual formal speech. So that to me would not be very good for students.
Okay, no.
So we wouldn't.
I hate to see them lose that knowledge of actually giving a formal presentation and giving a formal speech. If they're not doing that online, then
Also to add, Mrs. Walter called all the league schools and none of them require speech to graduate. In our league, in the 13 schools in our league.
And I think you'd be surprised how many presentations students give in multiple classes. And whether the teacher takes the time to teach them how to make those presentations, I can't attest to that. But our students don't lack opportunities for public speaking in a classroom setting. Would that be fair, Mrs. Flynn?
I would say that's very fair.
Maybe if we had the English department embed components of that, how to write a speech, how to present, that would be an option. And then we could sleep at night saying they're getting components of speech without the actual speech credit. That is a statement said without speaking to the English Language Arts department out there. I'm just saying, if they could squeeze it in and incorporate it as an embedded topic.
And it wouldn't be something be available as a college credit then either through cloud or anything.
Right.
Yes, it still is.
Oh, it is?
They can still take it, but it's online.
Oh,
But cloud offers it online for college.
so the kids that are going to college that want the college credit for speech still will have the opportunity to get that.
Yes.
Okay,
And they,
because a lot of the kids do that.
yes, and that's actually what they've been doing the last several years, is taking it online through cloud. We've never actually had a formal teacher teach it.
Okay.
So
Because that was
is
my
not
concern, is they're
change.
gonna lose that opportunity to get that college credit.
That doesn't change.
Okay, that makes you feel better.
Who pays for that tuition?
The students.
So to make that requirement for everybody would be demanding that students pay for college credit.
Right, but the students that want to get that college credit would have that
Yes.
opportunity. And that's, I don't wanna see them lose that chance to get that taken care of before they go. That's, okay, that makes me feel a little better.
TJ?
Yeah, that was the main thing I was gonna say, is I just wanna make sure that in case they're deciding to college bound, that they have that opportunity to get those credits prior, because it does quite a bit of cost savings. What is usually the college I have to do with it, and I wanna make sure that they do not require us to have a certified teacher supervise that college speech. That's
Do
my
they have a
question.
certified teacher?
They'll take it online, and there's a certified teacher at Cloud that teaches it online.
They don't need one to proctor here, does
No.
They take it during school hours?
They do, yep.
So there's no, I mean, it's just kind of on their own in the library or
Yep,
whatever.
we have someone proctor it and enter grades, they get dual credit, but yes.
Anything else? This side of the room is really quiet tonight, so. So we're just tired. Yeah.
I would say suspend it for 1 year and see where we are.
So is that a motion then, Deb?
Yes,
Suspend it
yes,
for
I
a year?
move that we
Or is
suspend
John?
it.
Okay.
Either one of us.
I just want to know who was
Sure, our team.
I know,
Sorry,
I
can you
know.
tell they're-
That's why I was wondering who was actually making the
We
motion.
can close enough to visit.
There you go, I know. So Deb's making the motion?
Yep.
Okay. All right,
I'll second it.
Neil second. Okay.
I just don't want to give up on it altogether.
If we get another teacher next year or something happens, if not, we'll have time to evaluate.
Yeah.
I like the FFA program, they have discussion meets and all sorts of things, they integrate speech and other things, so I think the opportunity, like Scott said, to give speeches in class, I think there is that ample opportunity without it actually having to be required.
All right. So a motion by Deb, seconded by John, that USD 298 Board of Education suspend the required speech credit for graduation for the 21-22 school year. Any additional discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, thank you. All right, calendar change.
Okay, this would be addendum 2 in your packet. The first calendar, you can see at the very bottom in the middle, that is the board approved calendar for next year. This was prior to us having so many changes going on, new curriculum in 3 and possibly 4 content areas, quite a bit of new staffing. The admin, in one of our admin meetings, we discussed swapping some days around. I sent an email out to the calendar committee, and all were in favor but one. But what we were looking at doing, in our current calendar that's board approved, we have 1 day of professional development on the 9th, and we have 2 work days, and then the students start on Thursday. What we have proposed to the calendar committee is that we have, the next page, 2 professional development days and a half a day on the 11th. So the 9th and the 10th are professional development days to allow for collaboration and work on new content that's coming in almost daily. We're getting boxes of curriculum. And then it would allow 1.5 days of teacher work day. And then we would have a half a day of school on the 13th. And after lunch, students would be dismissed. And in all reality, the rest of that day would be a teacher work day. The negotiated agreement states that we need to have 3 professional development days and 3 teacher work days. The current adopted calendar has 6 of each, so we're not getting too close to the negotiated agreement. We're not dancing on the edge of the negotiated agreement. In order to make up that August 12th date, which becomes a teacher work date, we propose that September 24, which was a professional development day, become a student day. So that those basically just flip-flop. August 12 and September 24 flip-flop. I don't like to present calendar changes like we had to last year. And I don't want to revisit this unless it's critically necessary, because everything that we try to post and staff and families get used to a calendar, and every time we change it, it creates chaos. But I believe if we do this just at the first of the year to allow collaboration time and the professional development that we need to have, I think this is a worthy change. And I think moving forward, now that I have kind of gotten myself grounded, I'll be more in tune to the value of first of the year PD if it's needed and it has value. Not waste of time PD, but true teacher collaboration and PD with a purpose. You remember last year we front loaded like 2 weeks. That got a little bit watered down, I would say, a little watered down. I think it needs to be concise, it needs to be planned, but I think we need it.
So neither of these schools.
So on August 12th, that would be a half day?
So when would school start?
The
'Cause-
13th.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I think, because that says classes begin August 12th.
Don't pay any attention to the middle.
Oh,
Just look at
okay.
the actual calendar.
Gotcha,
I didn't want to retype everything.
No, that's fine.
I
okay,
just
that's,
I was
changed-
just trying to
Yeah.
match up and.
I just
figure it out.
changed colored squares for
okay,
visual.
okay, that helps.
Now, and then
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I also see that January 3rd is.
Yes, I would actually, I think, in two other districts I was in did this, and I would like to propose that instead of making everybody come back on January 3rd, we turn that into a true flex day, and if teachers can work from home, they work from home. If they feel the need to come back into the building, they can. If we, and when I get to some other issues, if we need to look at utilities and different things like that, it's just another day. We don't have to heat everything up after the break. So I would just propose that that become a teacher flex day. They're professional educators. They know what they need to do. They would know if they need to come to the building to be prepared for January 4th, and they would know if they can get ready what they need at home.
That's probably why they can just do it at home. Do what it suits them as long as they have time, you know.
I know, just last year with different discussions that day, I mean, they said they were preparing, and it was the work day to get ready for those kids to come back on Tuesday, so.
As long as they're ready on Tuesday, how they do
Just,
that.
well, I'm just passing that
Right.
along, some concerns, so that was their work day, and then they didn't have to come in over break or whatever and do that, so.
So Friday would be the first day and they go half a day. Okay.
Through lunch.
Just through lunch, okay? On the 13th, yes.
And just a note on preschool, because preschool never actually starts the first day. They do a day of assessments and open house. So they would have assessments and open house the 16th and the 17th, and then Wednesday would be the 3-year-old open house. So their actual first day of school wouldn't be till the 19th.
Okay. Very good.
And also to note, the high school, the 13th will be an open house for our new students, 6th grade freshmen. And then the other kids will start on that Monday. But they'll come in and instead of doing our evening open house, they'll come in and get their computers. Parents can come in during their lunch hour instead of, so we did that last year. And the teachers really liked it.
So whole school starts at 16.
Yes.
That still counts towards our day,
Yes, that's still a student day.
still, okay.
And we increased student contact days to 171, so we have plenty of instructional time without getting in the 1,116 hour required crunch.
So do you need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
I'll second.
Oh, that's okay. Nope, no problem. All right, motion by TJ, seconded by Gina, that USD 298 Board of Education accept the calendar changes as presented in agenda number 2 for the 21-22 school year. Any further discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, authority to complete fiscal year transfer. Yes.
This is just the typical every June thing, asking for the board's authorization to close out this school year and transfer remaining balances.
I should move. Second.
Second? Okay, thank you. Motion by TJ, seconded by David, that USD 298 Board of Education approve giving the district office staff the authority to make up final transfers to close out the current fiscal year. Any discussion? All in 21-22 handbooks. I didn't print mine out, so.
That was a lot to.
I know, so, I'm not checking email or sports fans or anything, or sports scores or anything like that. I check email, but not.
I do have the hard copies here. If there were questions or issues that you wanted to address, we could make those changes. These were what were presented to us. I will say in the classified employee handbook, we are also striking the retirement benefit to sunset at the same time. There was a concern brought to me, and I think it's legitimate, that possibly there needs to be some language in there, and possibly also in the negotiated agreement when we get to that point, that rather than striking everything out, we say something to the effect of the early retirement benefit will sunset in June of 2022, so that there's some language that recognizes that still, and it's not a complete strikeout. So somebody came to me today, I didn't have time to make a change, I just printed it off so I remember to talk to you about it.
That's in our packet.
There are also some changes, and AASB put out their June policy updates. There are some handbook changes that they recommend for specific handbooks. It's basically verbiage or striking out non-essential things. So I haven't had a chance to go through all of those. If you want to, I don't know, we can approve them with KSB policy updates. We can approve with verbiage in the classified that says the early retirement benefit will sunset, so there's language that recognizes it, and move forward, or I will need to go back and change them all and resubmit them.
Any changes before we approve them? You want the updated changes from KSD? I think that might be better. If that, I guess I should have 4 things at this. Would you want to approve them this evening? I see what we're asking, approve them this evening, or wait until the changes are made and give them back to us, and then we can approve them at the next board meeting with the updated changes?
I'd like to review them without data changes.
Updated changes?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the final copy.
Okay. Good. That's fine. Okay.
Would you prefer that I go ahead and print these out for you so that you all have hard copies, or is the email okay? Is the PDF okay?
Email's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get those changes made now to you for July.
I do have a question on, okay. This is the LES student handbook, page 11, the attendance policy. Maybe it's been there and I just didn't catch it. But it says if a student has more than 3 absences either consecutively within a month and or semester, the student will need to bring a doctor's note in the office upon returning to school. Well, if they miss a day in August and miss a day in October and then one in December, how are they gonna have a doctor's note for returning to school?
So the language just needs to be clarified.
Right.
Another piece that had been in there before I had arrived was that if they had 3 absences, even if they were excused within a month or within 9 weeks, they then had an automatic conference. We went ahead and changed that to 5, which is a more realistic number.
Right, okay, so, right. I guess that was just, it's like, you know, you might be absent for different reasons, and I didn't understand why a doctor's note was needed if, 3 consecutive days.
That makes sense.
I understand that, you know, but.
So that would just be changing the language. Some of that language we did loosen up a little bit because that was when we had chronic absenteeism as a severe issue. We've dropped the last 2 years on chronic absenteeism, so we just tried to make that more realistic. I do, if you don't mind, I do want to explain one change that we had, and so you'll understand why we did that. In consulting with Mrs. Holliday, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on at LES is the band program and starting a great band program. We have band instruments for every student. Those were all purchased by the school. band instruments are quite expensive, so a lot of those were purchased at secondhand stores or donations or garage sales. Well, it's kind of like buying an old car, they require a lot of maintenance. And eventually, that maintenance gets to be pretty expensive, and we have to get to the point that we start replacing them. So one of the things we're encouraging parents is if you have your own instrument, if you want to rent an instrument, or if you want to buy your own instrument, that would be great. If you can't do that, we do have some instruments for you, but if you rent one from the school, there is a fee for that. And that's the same fee that the high school has. And then that money can be put in a fund where when it does come time that we need to replace an instrument, we have some of that money to go. Mrs. Holliday also thought it would make the instruments easier to play. It's, again, kind of like having an old car. They're a little bit more difficult to drive, and so they don't have the best experience, and then students want to give up pretty soon. So that was the change in band instruments, which is quite different for us.
Right.
And then she'll organize a rental day with the company in September so parents can learn about rental contracts and things like that.
Thank you. John?
On page 8, I think at the top of the LES student handbook, it was the nurse changes that we made, I think. It says if medication is to be taken during the school day, proper paper documentation must be submitted to all medication administered by school personnel. It ends there. I think we were changing verbiage, but it needs some.
Yeah, it just
correction.
sounds.
But just so that it doesn't get missed. And then there was one on the LHS student handbook, page 22. At the top it says, the formal school day begins at 8 a.m. And then upon entering the building, students are to remain in the commons until the 8 a.m. warning bell. Are we going to start school and have a warning bell, or is that?
It probably got missed because we changed it. It usually starts school day at 5. So
Okay.
what page is it on?
22.
Okay.
And we're proposing as well to start at 8 a.m. that we discussed last time. And then because one of the things we talked about, just to round the number, because we end at 3:28 and they end at 3:33, just to round it to 3:30 at LES and then 3:35 at the high school. So that would add 2 more minutes onto each building at the end of the day, but it gives it a round number that parents and staff can remember.
And then there was in the grade school, again, handbook on page 12, the part that said take out or keep, that we just needed to know anything from that, whether we want that taken out or
We're gonna take that out. Is it about the attendance policy?
not with the,
Yeah.
We had a meeting with the county.
Yes, yeah, we're taking that out.
Taken out, okay.
Yeah.
That was one line and I forgot.
There's one more thing on student retention. If we're going to keep a student that's new at the state level, it used to be that teachers were able, for a student, if we were going to retain them in whatever grade, kindergarten, first, second, that we use data measures and then there was a vote. The state now says if you're going to retain a student, you must use some type of objective measure to say, why did you retain this student? So they still give us local control on what we pick, but they do want some data tool that's objective. So one of those would be like the LIGHTS retention scale, which is a series of questions in different categories if a student meets retention or not. So that was the other change there, a significant change.
Thank you. Any other?
There was a few teachers missing, but I assume that'll get.
Yeah.
We'll table this till July, and we'll have everything for you then.
Thank you. Okay, so, track information, addendum number 3.
And number 3 is an email from John Betts asking some questions. Even Mrs. Flynn and I talked about this before. The wall, as you walk from the stadium up to the concession stand, it would be the north wall of the locker room concession building. It would be an excellent place to recognize donors as we're moving through this process. He's asking if we can, I don't think these are reward decisions, but I just want you to be aware of what's going on. There is one on here that's a super board decision. but I think recognizing donors is very valid, whether it's the gold, silver, bronze levels, or, you know, the leopard club and the kitty club or something else, and you just have tiers of support. And I think we could put a light out there shining down on those. I think it'd look really nice at football games and other activities that are there. Number 2 is really just for me, and we can rebid some of this stuff. Number 3 is the one that I really wanted to cover with you, and that is, would the board consider naming rights for a donor who had a significant, meaning 75% or more of the cost of the project donation? So in our board policy book, it says that it has a naming of facilities clause, and I'll read it to you. The board will consider requests from school and community groups to name an athletic or other school activity, facility, building, or portion thereof for a person, provided the proposed name has special significance and/or the person has made an outstanding contribution to the school or the school system. This is different than a memorial. It does run on into another heading, and it says the school system and has been deceased for at least 10 years. The board shall consider naming requests after they are recommended by the superintendent. I will tell you this, from my perspective, waiting 10 years after the cessation of life is an interesting concept to me, because a person cannot be honored while they can appreciate the honor, and that time frame could get you into a position where there are students who don't know who that person is, and it becomes very impersonal on that. So I know it's the policy. I would say that we should consider something different, because if there is significant, not just donation, service or anything else, I don't think there's anything more honoring than being honored while you can appreciate that honor. Yes, sir.
What happens when something changes before a person is deceased and then becomes not a good choice to honor?
Well, that's why it is a very, very serious consideration to have that.
I think that's somewhat why we decided to wait 10 years.
And that's totally a board decision. But the way it's written right now, somebody could pay for 100% of that track at its meter conversion, new base, here's $1 million, and your policy wouldn't allow it to be named after them for 10 years.
10 years after they die.
Yes, yes.
I hate to lose an opportunity if we had a family, for instance, that wanted to name that facility after the family, the such and such family track or whatever, and we can't accept it because of what that policy is. Even if it's being named in a family name, not just a specific person's name. And I think that there's some potential for that to happen with this particular project.
And I think Mr. Betts is just seeking guidance. He doesn't want to put out carrots that aren't accurate, so that's why he's asking the question. Would the board consider for the track naming that, consider naming it, if somebody had a minimum 75% of costs? 75, 85, the numbers.
And if it's family, I mean, that kind of takes the one person piece out of it. If it's named for an entire family, surely the entire family could do something horrendous and undesirable. I would hope. I don't know. Just a thought. If it's, that's going to make a difference.
So just a quick clarification, is at what point two, it's always been known as the Metner field. So does that mean that the Metner will be gone, or will the Metner field and such track?
Yes.
Could be TJ Johnson track at Metner Field.
You
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's
I'm
cool.
with you. Yes.
Well, the Johnson family track.
Yes.
Put your family.
Yeah, like David was mentioning, that was the main concern or recommendation we had from our legal counsel, that when naming, after a certain individual, something would come up to daylight that would not be very flattering for them. Community school district, that naming was already there, and the name is there, and what point you, but if you do a family name, that would be a little different, and not an individual.
It was just seeking clarification to know, I guess I don't want to call it a marketing strategy, but just to be able to have conversations with people. Doesn't require board action right now. It would be brought to you at that point for action. So would the board support me telling Mr. Betts that that would be something the board would consider if it is a family name and not an individual? Just consider, not approve.
I like the idea that we're a family name and not another individual. I think that that would be different. It'll be okay. Be worth considering.
I would
Just
say
consider-
you're probably in that 75% plus
Yes.
range.
And that's what he suggested to me, 75, 80%. Something that's just so significant that it's going to guarantee the project can be done.
And if not, if without that person, then
We wouldn't have the
how
money.
many do I have?
Yeah.
I would.
Good to go.
Good to go.
Okay, so do you want, do you need an actual motion for that then? Or
No,
we have to do the policy and then approve the policy?
I think I just need to know that it's okay to put that out as a permissible proposition to the board.
And then you work on policy, rewriting that or verbiage.
I could send this to KSB and put an exception in there.
Okay, that will be
Keep
good.
the policy for individual naming rights, and exception would be a family.
That makes a monetary donation. Yeah, I like that.
And you get their point of view on that also.
Or what if it was a corporation?
Yeah,
And it could be something besides a family.
That's true.
yeah.
Just
We need to spend some money on it. Money, but I ain't got that kind of money.
The mighty mark track.
That, I don't,
mark that up there.
that,
It just goes right off the tongue.
that might push someone over. I don't think we have that kind of money. Oh my God.
Raise your price of pop.
We would need to increase the prices on it. We don't have
Second
that kind
store
of-
at the concession stand.
Yeah, I'd have to put a store out there. We just-
Okay, next we have
Move on.
the camera server, Newline update, addendum number 4.
Yeah, I can't remember if I brought this to you or not, but our security system, all of our security cameras currently run on a Windows 7 platform. And I'm not very techy, but I think that's old. I think what are we up to, 10 maybe? Probably 11 by next year or something like that. We're getting to a point where Windows 7 will not be supported anymore. It's a dinosaur that is past its prime. It's cumbersome, it's difficult to use. I have a specific computer in my office that's for security only, and it is challenging, to say the least. We did get a quote from INA Alert in Ellenwood, Kansas to update that to Windows 10. This would be addendum number 4 in your packet. They sent me a lot of documentation that this could be ESSER funded as a better way. Well, this is the funny thing about COVID. It's kind of gone, but the funding is still flowing. So this is a way that we can monitor contact tracing, quarantine issues, should something come back with a variant or anything ongoing. And I have the documentation from Motorola that says that this would qualify for those funds. I would like to go ahead and move on this with the understanding that when the ESSER 3 application comes out, that this would be a part of the application for that. INA Alert is a pre-approved Greenbush vendor, therefore they have already made these proposals and they've been approved, so we don't have to go outside into the bidding process since it is over $20,000. I'd like to try to get these installed and updated before school starts next year. Windows 10 should buy us another, how many years? A decade?
7.
You say 5, I'll say 10.
That's what I was wondering, we haven't had the video surveillance for 4, 5, 6 years.
Not
have we?
long.
We've had it
We've had it longer than you think.
probably almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got Kathy's first year here.
And these servers and everything are all compatible with our current cameras. So some of the things that we looked at with Verkada and, what was that other company? Cisco.
Meraki.
Meraki Cisco. Those would require new cameras. This is all compatible. This is just the server processor storage update. The big thing up there at the very top is you'll see the camera license, $7,800. That's a one-time fee. So there are no recurrent fees after this quote. No annual ongoing fees.
What about the company that installed the camera system? Do they have a software update, and are they comparable in price, or?
We talked to them several times and have requested quotes, and we can't get them. Both myself and Mrs. White have talked to them. This INA Alert is also a company I'm trying to develop a relationship with because they can service many of our areas, our doors, some of the things that we currently utilize a company in Salina that is very costly to the district. A company that's $190 trip charge. This company doesn't charge trip charges, different things like that. So I'm trying to develop a relationship where we can use them more to save money.
And, I have a lot of questions here, but what about the camera system? Will you update the software of the system? Does that affect the warranty or backup from the other company that installed them? They're saying that you guys messed with it, you're not gonna cover it now? Okay.
I would defer to Mrs. White.
There's no warranty, I don't think now.
Okay, so it has the warranty. Okay. Some of those companies, if you mess with software or what have you, they,
No.
okay.
And it'll have better storage. We're gonna update the amount of storage that we have so we can retain our data. It'll be more stable, more reliable.
Unfortunately, security is a necessary evil of schools, and ours is just simply out of date.
Where we can use our current cameras, we don't have to worry about installation charges and that cost of cabling and all that.
Oh, that would be a question for her.
What's your question, John?
You said our video feed would be a little more live or whatever.
Reliable.
Reliable, yes, yes.
And you think it would qualify for the ESSER 3 funding?
I was told that it would, and I have the documentation to submit. I won't promise anything.
But there's a
jumping
good
through federal
chance
hoops. Yes,
we'd get the money
Yes.
back through ESSER 3, that wouldn't be something that
Yes.
would come out of our budget.
a lot of wordsmithing that needs to go into the applications.
I was just
Yes.
thinking about the budget, that's another $23,000.
Okay.
So if it comes from the, okay,
Yes.
all right. Yeah, something's free.
Do you want to have a motion to go in alert?
I would move that we would go with an alert for the camera server and that.
Gina, seconded by Bree, that USD 298 Board of Education authorized the expenditure of $23,489.94 to Alert of Ellenwood, Kansas for Windows 10 upgrade to the camera servers. Any other discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Another addendum. All right, Copier Lease, addendum number 5.
Copier Lease, addendum 5. So here's where I'm gonna tell you I can pay for those servers if it doesn't happen through ESSER. So our lease is up a year from July, January.
It'd be June next year.
June. It's up in a year. In an effort, I mean, quite honestly, in an effort to keep from bidding this out and getting into a bid war, ImageQuest has come to us with a proposal. And you can see on the front of that page, we currently are paying $2,548 a month for our copiers. If we will re-sign a year early for a 60-month lease, which is what we currently have, 5 years. And my understanding is we've extended because of some copy overages before we got here. So we got to the end of a lease, we had excessive charges, and they dropped the charges in exchange for an extension. Was that 1 year, Greta?
It's more than once.
Than one. So we might have been with them for 7 years so far. I will tell you, and we use the copier all the time, I don't know about the buildings. I've never seen a tech guy here working on this machine. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. In every district I've ever been in, copy breakdown is a chronic issue. And in buildings, I don't know, is it that way? Are these reliable machines in the buildings as well?
And if they do need service, they're here next day or the same day. So our service is really good. So,
We have a lot of breakdowns, but as Brenda said, they're usually here right away.
Well, what he is proposing to us is that if we will agree to a 5-year lease, we'll get all brand new machines, all updated current machines. The lease price drops $500 a month approximately, and over the course of that 5 years, it's a savings of $28,496. To which, as a former sales guy, I said, how much money have you been making if you can drop it $500 a month? Which got a chuckle out of him. But these are just the things, I told him I would entertain it if he could get a 20% savings per month. At the bottom of the page, he did 19, and I did tell him I was gonna hang up on him because I said 20. But after we talked a little bit, we calmed down and just had a conversation. But I think that's a significant savings. I think everybody's happy with ImageQuest. They also are the dealer of the Newline touchscreen monitors that we're going to talk about next. It's just so far my experience this year, it's been a good company. I haven't heard bad things about them, but I think it's a significant savings. So one thing that I would like is to see if you would entertain the motion of approving that for the next 5 years at that new rate.
I would move that we approve the new bid for the lease for copiers.
Yes?
Yes.
David? See a little. All right, motion by Deb, seconded by David, that USD 298 Board of Education extend the copier lease through ImageQuest to capture a 19% reduction in the cost for the next 60 months. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay.
Now I just want to tell you, I was going to show you a video, but I couldn't find one that I actually liked. So let me tell you about Newline, and then Mrs. Schmidt and Mrs. White, you can jump in. Kind of the thing that's replacing what we used to call smart boards is a product called this Newline. It is an all-in-one computer instead of just a smart board. It's a 65-inch touchscreen hard drive computer that mounts on the wall. We put a survey out. We're just trying to figure out if it's something we can get if it's something we can qualify for ESSER dollars under. Under ESSER 3, 20% of our ESSER 3 award must be for student learning, recapturing student learning loss. So what I'm thinking about as a position to pitch this is, as we get new curriculum, and a lot of components of that new curriculum are online, these devices allow us to access that online curriculum in a modern, technologically advanced way. They're about $3,600 a piece. We put Mrs. White put a survey out to staff and just said who would be interested in these, and I haven't looked for a few days. We had 19 responses.
There's 15, I think, that are in.
15 right now.
And LES just wrote and received the post-rock grant. That was for the proceeds to purchase one, and that one will be on a cart. But if we could get more, that would be great. Because we, at this time, only have 2 traditional smart boards, and those are in the second grade rooms, and they're obsolete. We can't even get the software for them anymore. And one of the really nice things about the Newline is you buy it, you don't have to purchase any other software. It's compatible with any device.
It's interactive.
So the Post-Rock Community Foundation purchased one so far?
Not the full amount, but the proceeds, it would half of the amount. It was $1,500.
So if we purchased 15 of these for the teachers that were interested in having them at $3,600, that's about $54,000. 20% of our ESSER 3 award is $110,000, and we have to spend 20% of that on student learning, loss recovery, remediation. So we still have to get creative on another $56,000 that we're required to spend before we can look at other ESSER categories. So just a thought that I'm not asking for a motion on that. We're still researching some, but I just wanted you to be aware. We're not trying to be the bells and whistles school district. We're trying to just be relevant and have the tools that our teachers need to be successful, especially with new curriculum that has so many online components now coming down the pipes. It's just becoming the norm. And is it necessary? Probably not. Is it an opportunity? Probably so. And that's how I'm looking at it. If it is an ESSER qualifying expense, I don't think it's outside the bounds of the norm to look at things like this. But I just wanted to give that as information.
Thank you. All right, administrators' reports. Mrs. Flynn, did you have anything to add to Mrs. Walter's report?
Nope, not anything I can't think of, no.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, I have a couple of things, thank you. One of the things I really, because I know it was in your report, but I just wanted to put out there that I'm incredibly pleased about was our state assessment scores. We not only met, but exceeded in every single category the state's standard score state assessments. And if you've looked at our state assessment scores in the past several years, that has not happened. To meet and exceed in every category would make any administrator happy in a regular year. In this year, it's unbelievable. And that is a testament to all of our teachers, from those that were remote learning in March of 2020 to everybody, teacher, staff. It is remarkable of achievement that we have. The other thing that just blew me away when I saw it is we increased our 5th grade science scores by almost 30 points. That has never happened, that we've even met the state standard in science. So I'm just thrilled, and I just want to say again,